I'm Tiffany Rosenbaum, and I'm the host of At Home Money. I help moms start their own dream side hustles and businesses, and one of the ways I do that is through sharing successful, female-led business stories like the one you're about to hear today. If you want to learn more about working with me or any of the guest speakers, please check out the links in the description. Let's meet today's guest, business coach and agency founder, Lauren Najar. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast today. If we go ahead and get started, could you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what your business is, and a little backstory on how you got started with it?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you and get to know each other a little bit more. So I'm Lauren Najar, and bear with me because I need to figure out how to introduce myself now with all the other things that I'm doing. First and foremost, I'm a business coach. So business coach, business strategist. I've been doing that for over 7 years now. I have a marketing agency as well where we offer done for you marketing services, social media management, ads management. We've been doing that in February, it'll be 5 years. I launched my podcast, Business Over Cocktails, in August of 25. So it's still a baby podcast. We're 40-ish episodes in. Myself and a co-founder, we founded a nonprofit business workshop community called Social Savvy Society in Northwest Indiana. We started that back in June of 25, and I started hosting intimate dinners and retreats. That is called Growth and Connect Dinners and Retreats. We started that. It'll be a year in February. So we'll have our next dinner coming up this coming February. And then there's 3 retreats this year. We'll be going to Napa this year. So I think those are all the hats that I wear. I think right now. But I think like just to give a quick like story into how I found business coaching. I don't know many entrepreneurs in my life. Like the closest that I had, for inspiration, my grandma and my great grandma, they owned a salon and they didn't really make it seem very desirable to own a business. And so for me, that's not what I never grew up wanting to have my own business. I think in college, I definitely started wanting to work for myself, but in the finance sector. I wanted to be a day trader essentially. And I kind of equated hard work to making a lot of money. And I was just very concerned with making a lot of money. I graduated with a bachelor's in finance, but then I had a lot of things happened to me in my early 20s throughout college and a little bit after. And I'm a two-time cancer survivor, so I kind of yeah, so I went through a lot in a 5-year span, and that kind of changed my trajectory into what I wanted to do. And quickly after I was done with cancer, I met my husband, and he just like loves what he does. My 2 best friends love what they do. They're both nurse practitioners. And my sister is a teacher, went to school for teaching, loves what she does as well. And so I was inspired by them to really try and find what I wanted to do. I was in banking for 10 years. And I slowly but surely just tried a bunch of different things. I did like Beachbody and Herbalife and all of those MLMs, but I think I learned a little bit from each of those, and I started to get really familiar with social media marketing. And so I initially wanted to start with social media management. I had my own blog, and that kind of got me familiar with just how to use social media as a business, and then quickly became, you know what, I love business, I love sales, I love finance. And so then I kind of quickly evolved into a business coach in 2018, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's awesome. I was kind of laughing because your story sounds a lot like mine. Because, I'm a business coach too, but like I'm just at the very start of my journey. But like a lot of your past, it like lines up with mine with the banking and the family owning a salon and yeah, all of that. That's like my story too. Like,
That's so
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. How long were you in banking for?
I was not in banking for very long, about a year. I quickly realized this wasn't what I wanted.
Mm.
But I was also pregnant, and my mom was the one who owned a salon, and it was a doggy salon.
Oh,
And so she had some chaos happen in her business right around the time, I was, I think like 7 months pregnant. And so I just left banking to go help her at her salon. And yeah, I always knew I wanted a business. I think I kind of thought, because my degree is in business, I think I kind of thought that's like, I was like, I'm going to go banking, like
yeah.
banking. And I was like, no, there's no growth here. Working for somebody else is just not for me.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when I hear someone say that, right? Like when you don't want to work for someone else, I always equated that as a kid growing up as like you don't respect authority. And I had a hard time kind of embracing that as an identity of mine because I always have respected authority. And
Yeah.
I've been, and I guess like I thought I had to be one way or another. Like either you're a rule follower and you had to follow the rules and you had to like it, or then you're just like this rebel that doesn't want to listen to anyone. And I
Yeah.
never like thought of myself as that person of like, I don't respect authority, but I also don't want to work for anyone else. And it really like dawned on me, I think like even 2 years into having my own business, I'm like, no, I really can't make this work anymore. So I like my banking journey, I really did spend about 10 years in banking, and I was at the same bank for a while, and I started as a teller and worked all the way up to an assistant branch manager.
Mm.
That's where I met my husband. Like my
Aw.
husband was my boss at one point, and he was not my husband at that point, but like that's how we met. But so it brought me a lot in my life, and my parents actually passed away too before I had cancer, so that banking was there like that whole time when I was going through all of that. And so really my banking job was meant to be a resume builder, because once I
Yeah.
graduated college, I was wanting to go to Chicago and find a job and maybe even do day trading and do all, trade stocks and things like that. But it was like a month after I started my banking job as a teller, my dad passed away. And
No.
then a year later, I was diagnosed with cancer. So it was I was thankful that I had that job, thankful for being able to keep that job during all of that, because we didn't have our parents anymore. And I'm the
Mm-hmm.
oldest, so I
Okay.
was 23 going through all of that when I had cancer. So my sister and my brother are younger than me. And so I'm grateful for that, but I guess I was young enough to not understand, like, do I just not respect authority, or is it like, do I really have good ideas and I just don't have the confidence in myself to really embrace that?
Yeah.
And looking back, I definitely think it was a confidence issue. Like I wanted to stay at this job for so long until I could leave my 9 to 5 to then pursue my business
Mm-hmm.
full time, but it just never would work out that way. And I ended up leaving and finding a new job for a few years in Chicago. I was living in Chicago at the time with my husband. So I mean it all worked out, but I just thought it was interesting just to pick up on that. Like I was always like a very good employee. I was promoted
Yeah.
very quickly. I was on time. I never called off. But at the same time I'm like, yeah, I just can't work for anyone else. Like and I don't think it's about like not respecting authority.
No, it's not at all.
It's like you crave that freedom. Like
Yeah,
that's what
that
it's
that
really
was
about.
it. Well, and for me too, like my husband's a firefighter on like 9,000 different fire departments, right? So he's never home.
Mm.
And like, well, I wouldn't say he's never home, but like he's busy, right?
Yeah.
Our schedule is chaos. So for me, working a traditional job, working for somebody else, like trying to find somebody who would understand that schedule when I have two small children would have been, finding a needle in a haystack for one. And it was
Mhm.
just, yeah, for me, it wasn't necessarily that I didn't respect authority, because I was always a really good employee when I did work places. But what I was finding is like I was too good and people weren't like, they were just treating me like crap.
Mm.
And, aside from my mom, because, my mom was not going to treat me like crap when I worked for her, but like, they didn't respect me. There was just a zero respect. And I was like, no. And like, I'm the kind of crazy person who, it might sound cliche, but like, I really feel like I was meant for more, and like my time
Yeah.
can be worth so much more. So I have a really, really hard time working with somebody who's not also going to respect my time.
Yeah.
And I know that I could do so much more if I work for myself. So that's what I mean when I say like I could never work for somebody, because I need the flexibility that working for myself offers for my children, but I just know that I would never be able to reach everything that I am supposed to do if I worked for somebody else.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. I never it's so interesting because I feel like I have two parts to my life, like before all my trauma and then after. And I
Yeah.
definitely feel like I'm just such a different person, and naturally I think that's what happens when something like all of those things happen to you. But I think it's funny because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and in a way it's come full circle,
Hmm.
and very happy that I am, but I was doing it more so for the money and the money only,
Yeah.
and wanting like just money and expensive things and maybe even a little materialistic. But I now it is more it started as fulfillment, and it was like life is too short to just like work in this job that I hate. And it was definitely like a toxic environment too. Like the people that I worked with were awful. Like they were just so awful, and
Hmm.
I dreaded going to work. I would come home crying, like it was just awful to work there, and just so much drama, and just not a good place to work. And so, to your point, there has to be more than this. Like,
Yeah.
and then I think, again, that's why I go back to all of my friends, my husband, like, they loved their bosses. And that was
Hmm.
just like insane to me. Like, because I spent 10 years at this job. It wasn't all 10 years, because the last few years I really appreciated who I worked for, but for most of my banking career it was awful. Like,
Yeah.
it was just so bad. And so for me it ended up being like, I want to create this for purpose
Hmm.
versus like money. And I
Yeah.
think, like, when you chase impact and purpose, and the more you chase that, like, that's when the money actually comes a lot.
Yep. You know, you might look crazy to your friends and family when you're spending, a long time building something that,
Yeah.
isn't necessarily bringing in income right away.
Yeah.
But when, like you said, with you're building it, then eventually the income will come and it's going to be like overflowing.
Yeah, I will never forget when I started. Truly, like, I hired my first business coach, and I was wanting to be a social media manager, and like, so thankful I had this coach, because I ended up working with her several times. I'm still in contact with her now. And she kind of brought it out of me that, like, no, like, you are meant for more. Like, and I kind of, and not to say, not, I'm not knocking social media manager, because like, we obviously do that now, but I was taking it as more of, I still need to work for somebody and still need to be directed. And I didn't have that confidence to be like, no, I know how to direct someone and give them strategy, versus like, oh, I'm just going to post on your Instagram for you. So more of like a VA, virtual assistant
Yeah.
position. And so then she brought it out of me like, no, like, you really do like sales. And so, like, with business coaching, that felt so much more aligned with me, because I do like sales, and
Yeah.
and that's uncommon. That's so
Yeah.
uncommon. But I'm glad that I had that business coach, and just, it is more about like the impact. And you mentioned, you said like, you're meant for more, like, I'm meant for more. And that's, I always think of, like, my slogan was always like, why not me?
Yeah.
And I've had that on my website, I think, since I started my business. And that's kind of like what I want to instill in people too, of like, why not you? Like, why
Hmm.
can't you do that?
It's funny that you mentioned slogans because the slogan that I kind of have is "You can do hard things."
Mm,
That I picked up too. My moment of like realizing that like I really wanted to take things like big and far and like my dreams were huge was when I was in network marketing
mm,
because I did it for 7 years. Learned a lot, would never go back, but I would go to these conferences and, the massive conferences, that they would have out of state. And those were so fun. But like I would see all of the big leaders in the company up on stage and, giving their speeches and accepting awards. And it wasn't really the accepting the awards that really drew me. It was the women who were on stage teaching.
mm.
And I was like, I want to be on a big stage teaching.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I know the thought of that would probably terrify most normal human beings,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I was inspired by that too. There's a pretty big, not, she's not really a business coach. She's more of like a public figure now, but back in 2020 was more of like an Instagram coach, business coach, and she was doing these conferences, and she's originally from Chicago.
Okay.
And I was living in Chicago at the time, and myself and one of my really good friends who I met through business coaching, we bought tickets to her conference, and then it was canceled because of COVID,
Oh no.
but she was the one who inspired me. Like, I want to do something like this. Like, she would host like a 2-day event with 100 people in the
Yeah.
room, and now it's like, oh, I'm doing that now. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember in 2020, it was either 2020 or 2021. I had a client who was a mindset coach, and she actually was getting certified in coaching, and she actually asked me if I would be her client for coaching hours, just to, like, you need to have practice
Yeah.
coaching hours for certifications. And she actually brought it out of me that I was like, oh, in 5 years, like, yeah, I can see myself being on stage and talking. And I thought of that last year. I'm like, wait a minute, that is 5 years later, or it could be 4 years later. And I was on a few stages last year speaking in front
Yeah.
of at least 70 people or 60 people or 30 people. And then I have these workshops that I do on a monthly basis, and either I was telling my story or I was coaching on something. And so that, I mean, that's so cool. And like, going back to those original things and like your ideas and stuff like that, like that's when you know like, oh, maybe I am a good like manifester. Like you
Yeah.
think like manifesting sounds so like fluffy and woo, but then it's like, oh wait, actually I think I can do that. But it's so cool to like visualize that. And if you visualize that, it's always in the back of your mind, and then when the day comes and you are on stage speaking or whatever that goal is, like you then realize like, oh wait, I did work for this. But like you're not, but again, you're not chasing that, and you're not so like rigid in your
Yeah.
plan. It's like you just keep saying yes to opportunities and going.
Yeah. So going back to your events and your retreats that you do, that was always like when I was in network marketing, that was like my favorite part of everything. And I don't know if you've watched any of my previous podcasts, but I interviewed a woman named Michelle Cunningham, and she made it
Okay.
big in network marketing. And now she's a big, I would say she's like a course creator, but she has these retreats that she does where she calls them beach retreats, and she like rents these mansions and stuff, and like they're insane. But I always knew that like hosting a retreat or a conference or something like that is something that was always a goal of mine too. But that is something where I'm like, I have no idea where to even get started. So when you were wanting to do something like that, where it's like, who do you talk to? Like how do you go about manifesting those type of dreams?
That's a good question.
What the
Because
process look like for you?
yeah, it's funny because there isn't a process.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's hard to answer because I just kind of did it. But I think again, if I go back to, I'm gonna go back to 2020. I actually hosted a meetup in Chicago. It was like February 20 something, 2020. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a few weeks before like the world shut down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I'm gonna do these monthly and like try to get out. And like, I had only been living in Chicago at that point for like 2 years at that point. And I had just started my business like a year and a half earlier. So I was like, I want to, like, how cool would it be to host like get togethers and stuff at restaurants. And this was at a wine bar and right downtown. And I felt like that was like a dream I had of mine. Like, how cool was that? So I actually, and then 2021 I had a mastermind. It was 6 months long. My clients are all over the place, like
Mm-hmm.
they're all over the
Yeah.
world. So I was organizing, like, not only were we going to do this mastermind, but at the end of the 6 months we're all going to meet up in Chicago and do a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
That was October of 2021, and there were like more shutdowns. That was
Yeah.
like back when COVID came back and it was winter, like cold and winter and stuff. So that was canceled. And so I think there's always been a calling or like a need that I've always wanted to do gatherings like that. I tell people all the time, like, my alternative goal when I was like in high school and I saw The Wedding Planner for the first time, I like wanted to be Jennifer Lopez in that movie and love planning. I am the friend who will get the reservations, will plan someone's bachelorette party, will like, I'm the planner. So that all comes naturally to me. I love doing that. I hate going to restaurants without a reservation. I am a planner to a T. So for me, the planning and logistics of everything is very simple. How I came about now Growth and Connect is I started going to in-person events around here in Northwest
Yeah.
Indiana. As they were popping up, I feel like there was like this surge of groups that were popping up, and that's so wonderful. I love hosting. I love having events. I've done a bunch of them, just personally. It comes easy to me. I started going to in-person networking events around here, and while I went to a lot of wonderful ones, there were some that were not great.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I was spending my time going to these events and I felt like my time was being wasted. And like I was the one that always was having my energy sucked out of me versus no one was pouring into me. So I had a vision for creating something that would hold space for everyone and no one needed to contribute in any way, that I would be pouring into every single person. And it wasn't just an event to just like get together, which I feel like a lot of events can be, where it just seems like everyone's kind of getting together and hanging out.
Yeah.
And while that's not that bad of a thing, for me, that's not my goal. I have friends outside of business that I like to keep separate. And then if I'm going somewhere where it's all business owners, that is a business activity for me.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need to make new friends. Not to say that I don't have friends that are entrepreneurs around here, but that's not my goal. My goal is to network and build my business. So I wanted to create something that was more high level, more exclusive,
Mm-hmm.
not for anyone to just come and like, I don't know. I had a vision that I wanted it to be an intimate experience where not only could you come and feel supported, but you're going to learn something. And so that's why I created my dinners. That did then evolve into I'm going to try and have a retreat. And I had no idea how successful or not successful it was going to be. I launched it, I think, January of last year for a May retreat for 2025, and it was sold out within a month.
Yeah.
And I had 8 people come, and most of them were all local here.
Yeah.
And it ended up being one of the best things I ever created. And again, it's always that same core belief of I want people to come and feel better when they leave the room, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that, and I personalize every single thing, even for the dinners. So like my dinners, we have at least 20 people come every time. I personalize the gifts, I personalize the letters. It is not something where you're going to get a random thank you. It is, you're going to walk in the room and I'm going to speak to every single person.
Yeah.
And I know that there isn't anything like that here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create that and just have it, again, have it be an elevated experience where not only are you going to feel supported and not feel alone, but I'm going to also pour into you and give you some sort of education or reflection or mindset coaching in that room too. So I hope that answers your question. That's kind of just like, that was my vision. I led from vision.
Yeah.
The logistics to me are very easy. It's really like, what do I want this to be? And so that's the advice I would give to anyone, and especially like if to you, right?
Yeah.
It's not just to host the retreat. It's really like, why do you want to host it? And then be so clear in the purpose. And then if you're clear in the purpose and the mission, then the people will come.
Yeah. Now, I had tried once, really, I think just once in the past, where like I had a agreement with a local like coffee and shake shop, and I was going to teach a class, and it was, they were going to get to come and, drink and then learn, and like nobody signed up. And I'm like, I don't know if I was just marketing it wrong, didn't market it enough, but like, did you ever struggle at first starting out getting people to come to things? Or
No. And I will say the reason why I probably had the success I did versus like, and again, I don't know how long you were in business for at that point, or again, there could be a million things as to why, right? Like maybe not marketing enough, but I personalized and sent personal invitations and I invited people because, and again, that goes with my brand and my
Yeah.
mission. So my business has been built on building relationships. That's how I sell, that's how I market, that's what I teach. It is solely like, yes, do lead generation, but we build relationships with people. And it's not just like cold selling and sending cold DMs all the time. So I think that I've had a very powerful brand. And then for me, I was going to a lot of local events where I made a lot of relationships. I feel like it was really just a natural progression. I definitely was not expecting it to be as successful as it is now. So I had my first dinner in February of last year. I posted it a month in advance and it sold out a month in advance. Like 23 spots, I oversold it. Like people were asking me if I could open up one more seat. And I'm like, okay, like I'll try. But my mission and what fits my brand is more of an intimate setting. So I don't want to just post a million links in a million Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And I've never done that. I've never just like said, in all these business pages locally, I've never posted in those. The one group I have posted in is the Women Own Northwest Indiana group, and I'm a member, and I've helped the founders of that group, and that's where most of my relationships are. But by the time I posted it, it was sold out like the first time. And I think I might have posted only a couple of times on Instagram, but what I relied on is I personally invited 20 people, and like 15 of those people came.
Yeah.
I knew every single person walking into the room.
Were they all your clients or no?
No.
Okay. And do your dinners have like certain topics, or do you just kind of talk about what people ask, or is there a theme?
Every dinner has a theme, yeah. So like our first one, I had everyone go around the room and name a win and a struggle that they were focusing on. So we did that before dinner and everyone shared. And again, too, like I curate the rooms where if I feel someone isn't right, like say for instance, like people are really sharing and opening up a lot of times. And if I feel like someone isn't right, I don't think I would let them come
Yeah.
because I definitely want it to be an elevated experience. And like people that have come, like there's so many collaborations that have happened that are like genuine collaborations. You know, people aren't just like playing business, right? Like people are legit coming. They have businesses, they want to work, they want to grow.
Yeah.
There's two girls that came that they end up going, they met at my dinner and they went to a Beyonce concert together like a few months later. It was just, but it was just like so cool to see those connections fostering just from like one dinner. So every dinner has a theme. My retreats have a theme. Even so the retreats are 3 days. Every day has a certain theme. The gifts that I design are all on theme, and then it's personalized to each person. So every single person that comes through, for 99.9% of the time, I know them. I know them already, or I've already
Mm-hmm.
connected with them. My very first dinner, I think there were 3 people that came that I didn't know, and now like I know them, and like I know them very well.
Yeah.
But every single person I know, and I want to know that because I don't want just anyone
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. Now, is there any certain type of like restaurant that like fits better for these things? And
Yeah, again, that all goes with like your vision, right?
yeah.
So I'm not going to have it at like a pizza place or a bar. So like again, if you are familiar with Northwest Indiana, I had my first dinner at Little Italy in Dyer, and any restaurant that I do it at is like I want it to be in like an extra room. So
Yeah.
anytime that so that we're not just like in the middle of the restaurant because like we talk and network and things like that.
Yeah.
We did Culinary Misfits the second dinner, so we were upstairs in their private area, which again, that was wonderful. It's beautiful upstairs. The November dinner was at Copolilo's in Crown Point, and then that's actually where we're going to be doing the February dinner too. They were wonderful and amazing, and the food's amazing, and they have like an extra room as well. I have a signature though. I have a signature thing that I've like it was a surprise, but now like everyone knows about it. Is like you get a glass of champagne like when you walk in. Like there's champagne ready to go. Like you have a glass of prosecco. Of course, if you don't drink, you don't have to drink. But everyone gets a glass of prosecco when they walk in, and so like that like for me like has to happen because that just like again elevates it where.
Yeah.
Oh, like you walk in, here's your glass of champagne.
Yeah.
Like here you go. Like
Sets the
let's
mood.
cheers. Yeah.
How do you like choose your themes that you're gonna do? And when the people pay like the price, does the price include the meal, or are they like paying that separate to the restaurant when they get there?
So,
Yes.
so how I decide themes for the dinners is I think of like the time of the year. So, February is still the beginning of the year, so I think of like, what are people thinking ahead? So, just like I have not, the dinner's ready and the sales page is ready. I haven't publicly posted it as of this recording, but so the theme is going to be precision and presence.
Okay.
So not only how are we going to refine and focus in the new year, but also take a step back and not like stress ourselves out and hustle. Like how are we also going to create presence in the new year? I think I always go with like whatever time of year it is. So like I had a dinner at the end of August of last year that was, end of summer, beginning of fall. We are like it's called Align and Ignite. So like realigning ourselves after summer. Maybe you took some time off and then igniting yourself for whatever it is for the rest of the year, for the final
Okay.
push of the year. So yeah, I think it's always based on like season. That's how I come up with that. As far as then the pricing and then like logistics question, the pricing, all the ticket is prepared for like with me. So like I pay the restaurant the final bill, and then like I just essentially get a quote from them. I pre-pick the food, I pre-pick the drinks. A lot
Okay.
of times I do open bar for 2 hours, so then that's like a fixed price for drinks, so I can have more control over that. And then I pre-pick the food, and then a lot of times it's just like, say $60 person, and then I come up with a price, and then I create the sales page, and then they pay me the price, and then
Gotcha.
that
Gotcha.
goes to me, and then I pay the restaurant after dinner.
Gotcha. I understand. It's kind of like when you're doing like a rehearsal dinner or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So you're obviously a mommy, right? How many kiddos do you have?
I have one.
Just one?
Hmm.
How old?
She's 2.
Aw, so your hands are full. Obviously, this looks a little bit different in your business, right? Like from, not being a mom to being a mom. So how do you balance that and make sure that, you're giving her the time and the attention that she needs, as well as, being present in your home and balancing that with giving your business everything that it needs to.
Yeah, I think there it's like a tale of two stories. Like pre-pregnancy, maybe three. Pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, and then being a mom and running a
Mm-hmm.
business. I will say my business has never been this successful being a mom. Like I it's wild to me how much stuff I'm doing now, and I have limited time to work. When I left my 9 to 5 and I had a good 6 months before I was pregnant, and then had my, then was pregnant for 9 months and had my daughter. So I did not have a 9 to 5. I worked essentially 6 months pregnancy free by myself. My husband and our dog is our only obligation, and I'm just like, what did I even do? Like, I don't even know what I did. Like, it's so wild to me. And like, I don't have any regrets at all, but I truly think that becoming a mom just truly reshapes your brain chemistry of like truly how much you think you can get done.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, we're very fortunate. My mother-in-law comes over 4 days a week and watches our daughter here at our home. My husband works from home most days. Today he's commuting into the office. So we're very fortunate that like even if I have breaks in between calls, I can go out and like see her anytime I want. And then Fridays on Instagram, I always call them my Danny Fridays, and people have known that for 2 years now. I call it Danny Fridays because we don't utilize babysitters or anything on Fridays. We just that's the day of the week we give, my mother-in-law off. And she's like our babysitter for like date nights and stuff
Mm-hmm.
too. So like we don't have her come on Fridays. So that's the day I truly just don't work anymore on Fridays. I try to. She's 2.5, so she's not really taking naps anymore.
Yeah.
Like hit or miss with the naps now. So I don't know if it's a balance. I think like you just work really in the time that you have. I think that what I found to work for me is like I have to be on in the hours that I have allotted for work time. I usually start work around 8:30 or 9. I go to the gym in the morning first thing. And we're able to do that because my husband works from home.
Yeah.
So he's with her. He doesn't have to start work until 8. My mother-in-law comes at 7:45. I come home around 8:30. And then I don't have my first calls usually until 9:30 most days. And then I have a hard stop at 5.
Yeah.
That's dinner time, then, nighttime, bedtime routine. And then my husband and I, we might have 45 minutes together. And then he is very strict and goes to bed at 8:30 or 9. Then I usually work after he goes to bed. That's usually what happens in like for me. A lot of times I will try and go to bed around 10, but
Mm-hmm.
last night I was up until 11 working. So
Yeah.
you have to find the time. I'm doing a lot, and I'm very aware of that, but I'm
Yeah.
doing it in a way where it's not bleeding into my personal time, and
Yeah.
I have those boundaries. And then I think I'm getting better at saying no to events and stuff, where even when I wasn't a mom before, like I didn't have any events to go to. I wasn't going anywhere, doing anything. I was strictly home all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think balance. I think that would be maybe my answer to that is it's not really. It is balanced. Like I think I just have really strong boundaries, and that's something
Yeah.
that I've always prided myself on. Even pre-baby, people would ask me about time management and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's so nice that you're able to do that. And it's absolutely wonderful that you have a mother in law who's willing to be so helping. My mother in law helps us every now and again,
Mm-hmm.
but she was never willing to do it on a regular basis. So that was a struggle for me, and kind of for a while what held me back. I became a mom like right after I graduated college. We got married, and then I basically went straight into working at the bank, and then I worked at the bank for about a year and then got pregnant. So it was like I almost got pregnant like right out of college almost. It wasn't that long. So I really didn't have that much like time, and then I was like a stay-at-home mom since. And like this past August, my daughter just started kindergarten, and that was like the first time that I was like really able to take my business and like actually do stuff with it because of my husband's crazy schedule and not really having any help or be able to like afford daycare. I wasn't able to, build
Mm-hmm.
my business like I wanted to, but now I am, and it's nice. And like when she comes home, I play with her and my son too, and then we have dinner occasionally. If they're busy doing their own thing, like if they're doing, they're playing their games or they're playing with their friends or they're watching TV, then I'll sneak out my laptop and work a little here, work a little there, but always stopping when they need me.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Like it's so funny, and just when you have your first baby, it's just you're so ignorant to it because like we actually didn't have any childcare lined up a month before I wanted to return. I took a little bit of a maternity leave. Actually, it was a month before my husband returned. He actually got 4 months paid paternity leave.
Nice.
So yeah, so we were very fortunate with that. And so actually my mother-in-law like suddenly retired, and so we had her. It was just like it just worked out.
Yeah.
It
Mine
just worked
was
out.
supposed to play out that way. When I was pregnant, she was telling everybody how she was going to retire so she could stay home and watch my son. But then she changed her mind.
Yeah.
And then she did retire and then was a stay-at-home wife.
Yeah, it's I have moments like that, like, my husband will travel for work, like, and not, I'm not talking commuting, but he'll travel. And so like for me, again, like having a 2-year-old, they're a little independent at that age, but it's
Yeah.
like
They
you
still
wait
need you a lot.
all the time. So like, there was times last year where he was like in Dallas for a week, and he left like on a Sunday night, didn't come back till Thursday. And so like you're doing literally
Mm-hmm.
everything. Had my mother-in-law still, thankfully, but like I can't work in the morning, I can't work at night. If I'm working at night, it's after 8:30. I would wake up super early because I couldn't go to the gym. We have a home gym, so
Oh, nice.
I would work out. I would try and work out at 5 a.m. and she would wake up earlier than ever, right? Because of course
Mm-hmm.
she would.
Mm-hmm. That's what they
So
do.
yeah, so that was, I think of that a lot, and I think of like, man, I feel very fortunate that we have the situation that we do where my husband does work from home. Like I would say 60% of the year.
Yeah.
And then we have my mother-in-law who will come and is willing to watch her whenever. And I know I'm fortunate with that. I know that I am. And because then I'm reminded every time that he's not home, and he gets reminded too. Like last night I had an event at night.
I know. I wanted to be there so bad, but I had mommy duties, so
Yeah.
nobody to watch the baby, so I couldn't go. That was
Yeah.
like the story of my life. Nobody to watch the kids, so I can't go.
Yeah, and then like Sunday night I went to dinner with my friends and I was out late. So I've missed bedtime the last 2 nights. And so like I know that it's stressful. Like it's not that it's stressful, right? But it's just like we love our routine. We truly love our routine when both of us are home and we get to cook dinner and eat dinner together as a
Yeah.
family and do bedtime and stuff. But then everything when one parent isn't home, it always just feels so rushed and chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know that I'm very fortunate with what we.
Yeah. That's awesome that you were able to have that, though. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah, again, I cannot say. I'm going to keep saying it. I know, especially even to like just having my husband, like
Yeah.
that's in just how supportive he is and just how hands-on he is. And I know that also that is not the case, which is unfortunate and should be the case. It should be normal, but yeah, I know that I'm lucky with that too.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband's very hands-on when he is home, but
Yeah.
he's,
So he has a demanding job.
he does. And yeah, and then he comes home and he has to rest a lot too. But I mean, like, he's never been one of those dads that's very like, no, I'm not going to change a diaper. I'm not going to put the kids to bed. I'm not going to give them. Be like, he helps with all of that.
Yeah.
So he doesn't like to help cooking. What was one thing that you wish you knew when you were starting out? Like, if you could go back and do it all over, what would you change?
Oh, this is a good one. That I know more than a lot of people that I'm listening to. Really, essentially that, but I'll kind of explain it and not seem so annoyed with it. But I think like the one thing when I started my business, because I was not associated with anyone locally here. I truly started my business online solely.
Mhm.
And so everyone in the online space at that time was wanting, like, if you were going to be an entrepreneur or like a business coach or some sort of coach, like that equaled materialistic things and being location independent. And we had just moved to Chicago, and I was like living what my dream life was at that time. Like that was my goal, is to move to the city, live in the city, live downtown. Like we loved where we lived, and I felt like I was on vacation every day. Like I loved it. Even when I had my 9 to 5, I was so happy, and it created this like feeling within me that like I didn't feel like I belonged. So like it was a little bit of that, and then it was like maybe some directives of like, no, you have to have sales calls to close clients, and like that never sat well with me.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to really understand that like, no, like I know how to close sales, and that's by having conversations and building relationships, and a lot of times
Mhm.
that's just in the DMs.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like there's always been certain things like that have evolved to where I'm like, no, I know more than this person,
Yeah.
even though they might be making more money than me or more popular or have more visibility. It's like, no, like you do know a lot and you need to own that.
Yeah.
And that also came to then event planning and having events. Like I was always willing to go to other people's events because I didn't think that anyone would come to mine. But
Yeah.
like no, I can do this better. Like I can do this way better. And so like I think it's just really like the belief in yourself that like yes, like it's helpful to get mentorship and see what else is out there, but at the same time like you have to put everything through your own filter. You have to listen to your gut, and your gut's never going to steer you wrong. And a lot of time like that's how I coach. So like with clients, my way doesn't go. Like I can give you a bunch of knowledge, and I say this all of the time. Like I can give you so much knowledge, but what's going to truly give you the success in your business is your ability to build your confidence, but also
Yeah.
like mindset coaching. So a lot of what I do is mindset coaching, even though I call myself business coach. I can give you strategies all day long, and they're going to
Right.
work. But like there's a reason why, like, you can Google all the strategies I'm giving you.
Right?
ChatGPT can give you all these strategies, but why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
Why isn't everyone a millionaire then? Oh, it's because you think that you can't be.
That's
And
exactly right.
and so like I think like going back to me is I didn't think I needed mindset coaching when I started out. And I thought that if I just checked boxes and did the tasks, it was going to equal money for me.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's not the case.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself.
Yeah. What would you say is like one thing that almost held you back?
I don't think anything really held me back. I think like in the moment when I actually decided, oh, I just want to be a social media manager versus a business coach, it was because I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
It was because I didn't think that I knew enough to be a business coach. But that's, yeah. I think that would be, and I think then there's probably like little underlying themes of that forever.
Yeah.
You know, it was, I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I could do this. But then it just, you get better at it. Then you're like, oh yeah, like, let me just try it. And who cares if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work out?
Yeah. You got to kind of prove yourself wrong. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I had my course, I have a course. It's called At Home Money Moms. So, I have like a B2B and a B2C kind of thing, my At Home Money Moms. Eventually, hopefully, turns into B2B with my customers because, I'm taking cold clients who don't, have a business and I'm teaching them. And then, I also work with businesses. But like
Mm-hmm.
the longest time, like I was so afraid to make it a paid community because I was like, nobody's going to want to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea is validated, like hard validated. And I was like, nobody's going to want to pay for it. And then I made it paid and I got like 2 sales right away. And I was like, oh my God, people actually like it. Like they think it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what got me was like, I made it 2 tiers, which I never wanted. Like in my mind, I was like, no, it's got to be cheap. It's got to be cheap. So they'll like want it.
Yeah.
And I like made a higher tier and like people were buying the higher tier. And I was like, that wasn't part of the plan, but okay.
Yeah. I felt the same way, like with like the dinner. I was like, oh, like no one's going to pay $65 to come. And then like everyone did. And
Yeah.
then, and I was like, no one's gonna pay $65 Northwest Indiana to come to a dinner because every event that I've gone to is $30. Well, then it sold out. And
Yeah.
so, and then like even that was the early bird price, and that sold out. But then I sold a couple tickets at like $80 because that was the normal price. So I'm like, oh my God, $80, crazy. And then that was the cheapest dinner I had because then I had Culinary Misfits was a little bit expensive, so I had to raise the ticket pricing, and I had some people pay $100 to come,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just like it's crazy when you like again like to your point, like if you are very clear in articulating what the value of your course is, it's not about money, right? Like again, like the money issue is just surface level reasoning. It's is someone going to make the investment because you're going to solve their problem, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that you need to answer. The price is irrelevant at that point if you're clear, and like
Yeah.
if they have this problem and you're going to solve it, price is irrelevant.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it for
Mm-hmm.
sure. How has networking helped your business?
So much like immediate, like I would say if you want to like specifically say in-person networking, all of the events I went to and all the relationships I've built over the last year to year and a half, my business doubled in 2025. Like my
Yeah.
revenue doubled, and this was by far obviously the highest annual income that I've ever had in 7 years of my business. And I think at 7 years in business, it's crazy to say that I doubled my revenue. How? But I know like all I worked my butt off. Like
Yeah.
I could not. I ended 2025 being so proud of myself, and I don't think I've ever been proud of myself ever in
Oh.
my life. But I would say like when I focus then, because I love networking in general. So I
Yeah.
love just like randomly talking to people on Instagram and building relationships that way. And that's how my business has built. And every year, that's how I sign clients is I don't have to meet them in person. Like that's how I make sales and that's how I build
Yeah.
relationships online. And it could easily be translated in the online space that way. And so the way I do lead generation is truly like networking, and I will create conversations and have conversations and get to know people in the DMs. And that's truly how I've built my business for the last
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah, I've when I first started, I was online only because I thought that building online was a whole lot easier to do when you have littles at home and nobody to help.
Yeah.
So, like, I was completely oblivious for a really long time on the importance of local networking. And when my daughter started school, because I was also not able to really attend local things. And then when my daughter started school, I started going to some of the events around here. My first one was at Lower Lincoln, and like it's exploded it like too. And then it like really opened my eyes to the importance of, even if you're building a brand or a business that's like not necessarily local, you know, it's not a brick and mortar, local networking can still do so much for your business.
Yeah,
So,
that was the best advice I got because it was from one of my mentors, and she's not local here, and she's been one of my mentors now for a few years. The best advice, and she's building a community and has a high touch membership for like 7-figure founders, and
yeah.
the best advice I got from that was, and this was a couple years ago now, but it was like start locally, like because I was wanting to start speaking in person and
Mhm.
travel to speak, and she's like, you should definitely just start local, or like, and for me that meant Chicago because again I didn't think that there was really anything here, and there
Yeah.
wasn't yet. I mean, there is, but like, I don't want to go to those things. But now, like, the groups, like, Women Own Northwest Indiana, like, that was so instrumental to my success this year because it created some genuine relationships that I had or that I have, and I met a lot of clients through those too. Yeah, I think like because and now like here we are, in 2026, we're my growth and connect dinner. We're doing one in Dallas in April.
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
so like it's just so crazy that like I gained the confidence and you can perfect things locally here, and then now it's just doesn't seem so daunting to like travel the country to like do these
Yeah.
things.
All right, well, thank you so much for being on. Please send me any links that you want to include in the description. And I look forward to chatting with you again. Hopefully, I can come to your next event.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love we can keep talking. Like it was so good. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.